One day is just like every other. Here we go. One day is just like every other. Here we go. One day is just like every other. Here we go.
Lost my mind.
Here we go.
Yeah. Lost my mind.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Wardog Live. Get your files off the screen, man. Shit. Oh, shit. Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Wardog Live. I'm Jake. And if you're watching this, you've stumbled onto my channel. Or you're one of the 12 people who already subscribed. It's kind of neat. And if you're one of the 12 people who subscribed, you'll be pleasantly surprised. I uploaded a video today, other than this. It's been a long time since I've done it. Need to get back in the habit of it, especially if I'm going to start streaming all the time, too. You know, get everything flowing out there nice and neat. Me and the kid did some Tetris. And then in the next couple days, we're going to I'm going to be posting some videos of Humans Fall Flat. Little indie physics puzzle game. It's kind of neat. We screwed up something monumental on it, and it ended up being extremely easy, but we did it the hard way. It's a fun little game. It's a lot of fun. Later on, we're going to be doing some other stuff. But let's see here. What do I got for this week? Well, okay, if you watched me 2 weeks ago, which since I'm on a different channel, most of them probably aren't on here, but oh well. I talked a lot about EA and the Star Wars Battlefront 2 thing. Now, since that was 2 weeks ago, a lot of shit has happened since then, and I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about it. So I'm going to buzz through it real quick because I feel like, at least for me, EA has gotten more attention than they really need. But this is kind of like kicking them while they're down, really, because it's kind of fun at this point. So after EA screwed up the whole loot box thing, and they had it on there, and then they took it off, and everything was too expensive. One of the reasons they actually took it off was because Disney, the people that own Star Wars, actually got super pissed at the fact that they were screwing up what should have been a huge money-making game. And they're the ones that actually forced EA to take the loot boxes off. So, you know, ups to Disney on that one. EA still hasn't managed to get their footing. We're expecting huge sales over the Black Friday weekend, because they had it on there for a pretty decently discounted price. I think like the $90 version, which was the deluxe edition and all the extra shit, bells and whistles. It was knocked down to $70 or $80. And it would have been a good deal for everything you got. But since they put such a mark of death on that game with the launch, it undersold horribly. Like nobody cared. And that's too bad, because honestly, for the Xbox Black Friday sales, I wasn't impressed with that much of it. A couple of games that were on there for cheap have been on there for cheap for quite a while. Like, you've been able to get Titanfall 2 for $20 for, I don't know, every other time they have a sale. It wasn't all that impressive. There's a lot of games, but a thing about what Xbox needs to realize, they advertise, I'm getting off topic here, but they advertise their sale, big Black Friday sale, over 400 titles of games on sale for Black Friday. That was a lie, because probably a third of their items on sale weren't games, but they were discounted prices to buy in-game credits for certain games like Star Wars. And I'm trying to think of a few others that had it on there. There's a few of them. I can't think of any of the rest of them. But they count that as an entry to their sale when that's not a game. That's not a game at all. That is just you buying in-game credit so you can buy microtransactions. And you would think, after all the shit went on with Star Wars Battlefront, that they wouldn't be pushing that out in the forefront. But I guess everyone thinks they need to make their money. Speaking of money, and going back to Battlefront 2, there was also a report that EA had lost like $3 billion in shares because their stock dropped because they didn't get the profits out of the game, which is actually very funny, because that means people are taking notice. They're not buying the game. They're making EA feel the heat for what they've done. And it's too bad, because the game actually looks like a lot of fun. I've actually watched people play the hero battles and some other stuff like that, and it looks like a lot of fun, but I ain't buying it until I can get it for like 10 fucking bucks. That's just where I stand. And when it does get down that low, yes, EA will get my $10 and I'll get to play their $60 game. So I'm sorry, but it just has to happen like that. And it was kind of funny. I found something. Activision. This was before all the Star Wars stuff come out. And hold on a second. I got to look like an old man because this is a picture I took out. Hold on just a second. Jesus.
This episode has been brought to you by Arby's.
Is there Arby's in the background? I'll tell you what. It's kind of been brought to you by Arby's because if I wouldn't have ate it, I probably wouldn't have made it here. That's how hungry I was before the show.
No, it's just your cup is like perfectly placed.
It's
the
right
Arby's
back there.
logo's right there.
Okay, so Activision, and this I got this out of a Game Informer magazine, was recently awarded a patent originally filed in 2015 for a matchmaking engine to drive microtransactions in-game in two ways. The first was by putting players who haven't purchased a weapon, for example, in situations that would give the player an impression that the particular weapon was a good purchase. The other is by matchmaking a skilled player with a microtransaction with a junior player without the item so that the latter may be encouraged to make the game-related purchase such as a rifle or other items used by the marquee player. Activision says that the system has not been implemented in any of their games. So what they did was they made a system where if I was to buy something with microtransactions and I played with something, they would purposely matchmake me with someone who hadn't spent money on microtransactions, using me as the catalyst to make them make purchases, making me look cool because I'd spent money. So they were actually going to push microtransactions even further than what EA did. And now, after all this blew up in their face, I'm sure Activision is going to sweep that whole thing under the rug and never put it in place, hopefully. But still, I mean, like, that's some shit. Matchmaking people with other people just to see if they can push a purchase that one person has made and talk the other person into doing it. That's some dark and evil shit. I'd never in the life, I mean, everyone bitches about poor matchmaking, but this is matchmaking with a purpose. This is matchmaking with fucking just evil intentions, really. And so it's shit like this that it's just bad. It really is just fucking insane. And the whole thing had gotten so far out of whack that, and this really actually kind of scares me, that the governments have gotten involved in this because they were worried that the in-game loot boxes, what they were saying was a system where you can spend real money in a situation where what you're purchasing is not actually guaranteed. That's a form of gambling, where you blow money on a game where you're not guaranteed to win or guaranteed to get the outcome that you're expecting. That's fucking gambling. And the governments have got into this. I know Belgium was a big one. They started it. A representative out in Hawaii made a big deal about this. And they're all pushing the fact that this is gambling for kids and that the people playing these games are not psychologically prepared to not blow money on this. They don't understand that, you have your money. You need to keep your shit together. That's funny. And so, I mean, it's basically a predatory practice, as they were calling it. Going out of your way to convince kids to spend money on something that they shouldn't be spending money on because they already bought the game. So these microtransactions for what basically is gambling is going to be taken before. Actually, I think it already has. And I don't think they hammered it as hard as they promised they were going to in the beginning. They reviewed it and decided it wasn't as much gambling as they thought. But I don't know. I should have looked more into that. But I know it's been reviewed. And now there's government legislation that's paying attention to this shit. And they were even going to go as far as, at first their idea was to just ban it completely. They need to get in there, take microtransactions out of all games. That was their first idea. Well, then they thought about, that's a little insane. So they were going to think about putting labels on games that had microtransaction setups like this. And that would actually, at first you would think that would be bad, but there has been adult ratings on games forever and still 12-year-old kids play Grand Theft Auto. So putting another label on the outside of a game is not going to slow anyone down from buying it. It might, it might stop a person from getting it if they think these things are bad. Oh man. But still, in the end, it's just it probably wouldn't slow anyone down. They're still going to play the game. I would like to think that people would just play the game and not actually worry about whether or not it's in there. I can play games with microtransactions all damn day, and I just ignore them. Some games, they kind of push it down your throat. I remember someone said, the new Shadow of Mordor game. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Help me out here. Oh, God damn it. What's the name of it? Anyway, the new Shadows of War game, Middle-earth, it has a system where you can play through the game and get so far in it and you can do just fine. But then it gets to the point where you get so far into the game where, how can I explain this? Where you're not leveled up high enough to fight off certain monsters that have taken over forts. And in order to do this, you either have to grind your gameplay up to get your level high enough to take on these guys, or you can buy XP bonuses with real money, microtransactions, in order to get yourself strong enough to face these guys. And a lot of people were pushing Shadows of War. That's what it's called. I don't know why I was thinking something else. And so it was kind of forcing you, if you didn't want to grind for a certain amount of time, that you would have to pay money for this kind of stuff. And it's things like that it's just making everybody sour. I'd actually noticed EA, I completely forget that EA has got their hands in so many different games. Like, EA is for fault of what happened to Star Wars Battlefront. But EA is for fault for what happened to the SimCity game that came out about 2 years ago. They made what was a regular single-player game. You just building your city on your own. It needed no fucking multiplayer purposes whatsoever. And they slapped it on an online server-only basis. You couldn't play it offline. Made everybody frustrated and shit. That was EA too. A lot of people forget, or it's hard to keep track of which games come out by which publishers, and you remember this and that and the other. So it's hard to remember. But yeah, EA's been fucking up over and over again for years. I still think they rushed Andromeda, and that's why that last Mass Effect game sucked balls. But yeah, let's get off of EA for a second. I can sit here and scream about EA all day long, but I think I've covered everything I wanted to cover about. Let's switch over to VR. VR headsets are popping up all over the place. You can get them for all your major consoles. You can get them for PC. You can get them for $20 at fucking Walgreens if you want to sit at home and just do like roller coaster simulators and shit like that. The funny thing popped up though. I don't remember exactly which companies go with which console and stuff, but I know Oculus Rift is mainly for PC users. And so Oculus Rift announced that the Oculus Go headset, which I guess is a more smaller and mobile version of their Oculus Rift, was coming out for $100 cheaper than what their regular Oculus Rift was. And the funny thing about this that I don't get is if this is powered by a PC, you need a PC to plug into it to get your information for your games so you can play them. How do they go about making a mobile version that's more easy to run around with and all that stuff? And the other thing is, how the fuck do you run around with what basically is a smartphone strapped to your face? It doesn't make any sense that, I mean, you can't see anything. You're wired to something as far as I know. I guess I should have looked a little more into this. But so why would a mobile version of a VR fucking face cam be anything important that anything would actually want? Unless they've made a way of it downloading shit to it to make it more versatile. Either way, you can't see where you're going, so it's not like you can run around with it on your face. But talking about VR, where was it at? All sorts of big name games are getting VR versions. It started with Resident Evil 7, and it worked pretty well. I watched some video on it. It seemed to work. It came out damn near the same time the game came out, if not like a month later. Doom has already got a VR. Fallout 4 is going to be getting one next month. Skyrim, which has been released on every console known to man except for your cell phone, it got a VR experience. Everyone says VR everyone says that these VR experiences are really good. They work great. I don't understand. I don't get the excitement behind them. I know, like, if you use a PlayStation or an Xbox with the VR helmet, you still have to use the controllers. It's just the screen strapped to your face. I don't understand the VR thing. I wasn't expecting it to get as big as it was. Obviously, I know Xbox was looking for something to make games more immersive after their Kinect took a shit on them. So maybe this is it. Maybe this is the next big thing that's going to stick around for a while. But yeah, I found it funny that the big games, Doom, Fallout 4, Skyrim, they're all getting their new versions of it. And the other VR thing, which I find hilarious, Final Fantasy 15. You would never think that Final Fantasy 15, the way that game's played, would be able to have a VR system linked to it. Well, it got one, but not in the way you would originally think. It is a VR fishing simulator. And I've never played Final Fantasy 15, so I don't know how they tie that in. I guess there's fishing mini games in it. But if you want to play the VR experience for Final Fantasy 15, the majority of it is some oddball fishing simulator. And I seen you can use like crossbows and other bullshit like that, but it's just fishing. Fishing in Final Fantasy. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't get it. Boy, I'm moving through these awfully fast. Okay, here we go. Moving on to a movie topic. Everybody remembers the Rampage series. It was a dumb little game where you were a gorilla, a lizard, or a monkey, or a gorilla, a lizard, or a wolf. Actually, in a couple of the versions, the wolf wasn't even in there. I'm thinking of the old NES versions where it was real, the graphics were real rough, and you just climbed up the side of the building, punching it, eating whatever popped up in it. And so, because obviously Hollywood, we've said this a million times, they've run out of ideas. They have clung to this Rampage idea and got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, because Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will star in absolutely anything. They made a Rampage movie. And from what I can tell, it is about this gorilla that gets attacked by some sort of gas and grows double in size in the middle of the night. And him and The Rock are really good friends. And they decide the government has to step in and take this monkey out of there because he's getting too big. And of course, whenever stuff like that happens, he escapes. He makes it to a city. What you don't realize until later on is that Jeffrey Dean Morgan, doing his best Negan impression, because obviously that's the only thing he can do now. He actually has a 30-foot wolf. There he is right there. The government has a 30-foot wolf that they've been hiding for God knows how long. And of course, they both escape at the same time. They make it to Chicago. And all of a sudden, you've got yourselves another gigantic monster disaster flick. And it's just, the kid in me makes it like, ooh, look, big monsters and lots of destruction. But like the grown-up in me is just, God damn, really? Again with the big monsters? I mean, there's certain big monster movies that I like. I love Cloverfield. I am a huge Cloverfield fan. There's a handful of Godzilla movies that are pretty good. I've always liked the one with Matthew Broderick. I know it's cheesy. I know it's dumb, but it's fun. And maybe that's where this will fall too, is a cheesy, dumb, but fun kind of movie. But does The Rock need to be in fucking everything? I mean, really, it doesn't make any sense. He's wearing me out, really. He's 3 times the size as he was back before when he was wrestling. It's like all the man does is make action movies and work out. I mean, granted, everyone's got to get paid, but
that's what I was about to ask. Where's Godzilla? I knew there was a Godzilla tie-in.
Yeah, there's a lizard. And right there at the very end of the trailer, there's your big lizard alligator thing.
That's not Godzilla.
Well, he's not. He was never actually in Rampage. Technically the Godzilla.
Okay, Godzilla wasn't, but a lizard was, not an alligator.
Well, lizard, alligator. I mean, it's got to be able to crawl up buildings to make it make sense. So, I don't know. But yeah, so there's your the big monster movie of the week. I don't know can't remember when it's coming out. Probably sometime early next year. Where are we at here? Anybody in chat?
No.
Didn't think so. Okay. Speaking of big monsters, the thing that I am actually very excited about, I talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I didn't know that much about it. Monster Hunter World is coming out. It's getting its big console release. And it was originally Monster Hunter games only came out on your smaller consoles. Well, back then, every console was a smaller console, or your handhelds. And it was always a kind of a turn-based kind of thing, I do believe, shit like that. Well, it's got its big breakout game coming up next month or early 2018. And it's a third-person exploration, hunting, gathering. This game literally has a big chunk of everything in it, and it looks awesome. I didn't know shit about this until I watched like 2 hours of YouTube videos the other day, and I'm sold. I'm going to buy it. And it's got multiplayer, but it's got like an interesting take on multiplayer where everything happens in a shared world kind of server, from what I understand. So like you can be playing single player, and say you need help taking out a monster that you just can't take out. You can just shoot a flare up into the sky, and that kind of sends out game invites to random players that are in the game on your same server. And they can join your party. They can jump into your hunt. They can help you take down the big monster. You all get to share the loot. And, I mean, it's a really cool and inventive way to find people online who enjoy the game that you enjoy without actually having to hunt them down on Facebook or Xbox clubs and shit like that. It kind of takes a step out. Because I know when I was playing online with games like Paladins and Friday the 13th, it was hard to find people that were playing the game that actually wanted to be sociable. So you had to get like on Facebook pages and oddball clubs and this and that and the other and post looking for club stuff. And it worked. You finally were able to find people after digging through messages and going through screens because the Xbox club thing is just fucking broken. And you were able to find small groups of people that you could find from on a daily basis playing these games, and it was a good experience. Sometimes better than playing the actual game was. Friday the 13th. And so it worked out really well. And Monster Hunter, with this way it groups people online, it actually kind of takes that step out to where you can find people in-game that are enjoying the game that you're playing, and you don't have to sit there and wait in menus and search through bullshit. It's just already there. They're already in the game. They're already messing around. They may need help taking down a 30-foot crazy dinosaur looking thing too. And so I think you'll be able to meet people in there very easily that are interested in the game like you are. And I think it's going to be a great asset to that game. And some of the other aspects of it that I'm really interested in, the character building looks super in depth, but the menus may be a little complicated to get through at first, but I heard they simplified it from what old Monster Hunter games were, if you are a Monster Hunter fan. And the different classes of combat, like you have your quick weapons, you have your heavy weapons, you have your ranged weapons. I know we've talked about this in games before where it kind of pushes how much you should try to throw into one game. But in a game like this, I feel like all the different systems of combat are going to be fleshed out enough to where it's going to make sense. At least I hope. I know I made fun of Elix 2 weeks ago by throwing too many different irons into the fire, not making a solid game because they tried to go too many different ways with it at once. But I like to think that Capcom has figured it out and has really put the time into this game to where it's going to be good. I feel they have the teams that have been working on all the other Monster Hunters. So these people have wanted to make a good Monster Hunter game. There's games that get rushed for money, and I hope that this game doesn't fall into that category. I feel like it's got a team behind it that really wants to make this game successful, really wants to be true to its fans, but also really wants to bring new people in. So hopefully it works out for them. I think it's great. I'm going to buy it. Hopefully, as long as I'm not having a broke January like every other year. But yeah, it looks like a lot of fun. I like it. I like it a lot. Ugh. Okay, what else do we have? What else do we have? In the wrong page, sorry. Well, it looks like the only thing I have left here. This may be a slightly short stream with nobody on the chat. John, look up, and the exact video that I came up with was NELO New Gameplay Trailer 2017 was exactly what it was called. Because this game looks like it's going to give people seizures. I have to actually wait until he gets it up on the screen. Because this game looks insane. And I'm not sure if I even like it or not, really. So what this is, at least what it tries to be, is a third-person action shooter, but it has an oddball system where you can switch it in the middle of combat into a top-down, like, space shooter of, like, the old Capcom days. And I don't know if it's going to work well. And then it's also got an oddball platforming element to it. It's just the whole thing just seems a little broken. But you're some sort of crazy mech lizard man guy, you know, Ultimate Warrior kind of thing, true badass, the top of the line warrior that's going to go out and just solve whatever problems in front of you. And it's some sort of techno apocalypse thing going on. Trying to wait for it to get to one of the big action scenes here. There we go. There is so much going on the screen right now. And I don't see how it's going to run at even 30 frames per second. There's the top down that I was talking about. It's just, you got slashes and blasters. You actually are followed around. You can almost see them right now. Of the 4 little floaty drones that follow you around everywhere, and they're actually the things that shoot while you do all the melee combat. You got walls of fire popping up all over the place that I believe is coming from you. It's like too much all at once. It doesn't make any sense. It's going to give people seizures. It really is. I don't understand. I kind of thought the games like this kind of faded away. It's almost kind of Devil May Cry, goofy combo point racking thing. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's got a score system. It's got platforming elements to it. It's got a city that you can kind of explore. I wouldn't expect it to be too open world, maybe a little. But yeah, it's chaotic. It really is. NELO. We pronounced it NELO, didn't we? Yes. So yeah, it's coming to Steam Early Access. So there you go. All you Steam guys looking for something that's going to crash your computer, this is the game you want. It's a lot. Blasters and explosions and I don't know. I'll tell you what, I almost feel like an old man at this. It's almost like turn your music down or get the fuck out of my lawn. It kind of falls into that category to me. It's like too much all at once. And maybe it's just because I'm getting old. But yeah, I don't know. I couldn't do it. I don't think I could play this. I don't even know if it's actually coming to consoles. I don't see how it would work. It looks like it would use every key on your keyboard to play. It really does. It's that chaotic. I don't get it. I don't like it, but I stumbled upon it the other day and thought I'd show it to you guys. If somebody is looking for some just ridiculous fast-paced shooter that I like, there are 4 guns in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, but and those may be his drones and the different attacks, but if you watch them shoot, they just all looks like blue lasers to me. So I don't understand if those actually mean something. They blink every once in a while, but one doesn't ever highlight from another. It never seems like it changes anything. So I don't know what they do. The map is so damn small that it really doesn't help any, which I guess right now it doesn't matter because he's not going anywhere other than getting blasted to shit by thousands of weird glowy enemies all at once. It's just, yeah, which I've never been big on like games that like add up combos for you. It makes sense in fighting games, Marvel vs. Capcom, Injustice, shit like that. It makes sense there in fighting games, but in regular games like this, I don't know. I just never really seemed to matter if I hit somebody 45 times in one fail swoop. I don't know. But yeah, so there you go. NELO. And other than that, I am going to be posting some more stuff up on my channel for streaming. Me and the kid have been pushing Tetris. We did a couple episodes of Tetris today. I got one of those up. We worked on some Humans Fall Flat. It's a fun physics-based game that Lily's really seeming to like. I'm going to try to get some XCOM 2 and maybe some Fallout 4 stuff on there. I got to figure out how I'm going to do it because Fallout 4 is a huge game, and I do all my recording off my kid's Xbox in another room. So I either got to spend like 3 days downloading Fallout 4 to her Xbox, or I have to move all my streaming equipment into my living room, and both of them sound like a pain in the ass. So you may get some Fallout 4 on there. You may not. I'm looking for games. If anyone has suggestions of games they think they would like me to play or me and Lily to play, I'll take them. My funds are a little tight right now, but I am looking for some extra stuff to play, and I've got some stuff laying around that you might find interesting that I've already played through. I may dig up something small like State of Decay, something like that. I'm trying to think of what games I got on there. Oh, one of my other big ones. This is going to be fun for a 12-year-old. I got the Capcom Classic Arcade Pack. It's got like 9 or 10 old Capcom games from the late 80s and early 90s, and most of them are complete shit. So it'll be fun watching a 12-year-old that's trying to play games that are literally 20 to 30 years old. John's a fan of a couple of them. He loves that. What's the name of that goofy card game you love?
Card game?
Car game. The little blue car buzzing around, blowing the shit out of stuff. We talked about it one day.
Speed Rumbler. The Speed Rumbler.
Yeah, Speed Rumbler. Speed Rumbler is actually pretty good. There's a goofy pirate game on there where you roll barrels at pirates and clear the stage. That one's not bad. It almost feels like a mobile game nowadays. And Ghouls and Goblins. Or Ghosts and Ghouls or something. Whatever that.
Ghosts and Goblins.
Ghosts and Goblins. I was almost there. That game is great, but it's like the 1980s version of Dark Souls. It's fucking brutal. There's a Speed Rumbler. Speed Rumbler is a lot of fun, but it is extremely difficult too.
It's a fucking one of those old arcades.
Yeah,
it's pump quarters in.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a quarter pumping game.
The Zappers.
Well, it wasn't a zapper.
No, that was the name of the bad guys.
Oh,
the
what?
gang.
They had a name?
Yeah,
wow,
the gang
look at
was
that.
called the Zappers.
I didn't know they had lore for games back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a neat little game. I played it off camera. I'm going to have to try to play it on, get some footage of it. I know I have that downloaded on the kid's Xbox. So yeah, I'm going to get the channel up and going again. I'm going to actually put some effort into it. I've been down for a while. Just one of those things. It's kind of difficult, like, and early in the day, most of the time when you're at work, you have all these grand ideas for all this shit you want to do for your little hobbies. Streaming, YouTube channels, all that kind of stuff. Everyone does it. So they have all these grand ideas that they want to do. But by the time you get through 10 hours of work, you get home, you have dinner, you visit with the wife, you talk to the kids. By 6:30, 7 o'clock, you finally get to plant your ass on the couch. And you turn into a complete zombie because you're too tired to do anything, do all the things that you thought about all fucking day. You're sitting on the couch, you're thinking about those things you were thinking about doing, but you're just like, maybe tomorrow night. Now I'm just going to sit there and stare at Netflix for the next 2 hours and probably pass out on the couch. That's what I did last night. I fell asleep to Rogue One for like the third fucking time. It's not that I don't like the movie, but for some reason, ever since I've watched it that first time, it always ends up putting me asleep somewhere in the middle. I don't think it's because it's a bad movie. I just think it's a calming movie. There's a nice mellow center to that big Star Wars action flick that it can put you to sleep real quick. It sounds horrible. I say like it's a great movie. It puts me to sleep every time I watch it. It doesn't sound like a positive review, but it's kind of what it is. trying to think of some of the other horrible games on that. I know there's the 1942s and 1943s. Those are your scrolling plane shooters, and they get old after about 5 minutes because there's just so much stuff floating in the air that can kill you that you just never get very far. I know there's a really horrible Old West cowboy game where for some reason you only shoot diagonally every time you shoot. You can't shoot in a straight line or side to side or up and down. It's always you shoot at a fucking angle. I played that game for like 30 seconds and shut it off. It is a lot of those games are just Was it called Gunsmoke?
I think it's Gunsmoke.
Yeah. I don't know. With the games that I don't play very long, I really don't make a whole lot of effort remembering the name. But yeah, so that's going to be some stuff popping up on the channel. I'm going to talk my kid into playing Toe Jam and Earl. Toe Jam and Earl it was like my favorite game back in the Sega era. I fucking loved Toe Jam and Earl. It was a fun little exploration, level by level type of system. It was a great game. They made a second one and they turned it into a side-scrolly kind of, it was shit. It wasn't very good. Escape to Funkatron, I think it was called. I didn't like it. Is this I don't think this is, oh yeah, it is, because he can only shoot at an angle. He can't shoot straight up. Or no, he's shooting straight up. I don't know if this is it or not. I don't know. We'll find out in a couple days when I sit down and make the kid play it. But yeah, so that's the stuff coming up on my channel. What all have we talked about? EA sucks still, and it doesn't seem like they're ever going to be able to pull themselves out of it. Maybe Star Wars games will get pulled from EA altogether, and they'll find a new company to do it. There's a lot of good companies out there that can pull off a Star Wars game. EA isn't the only one that needs to have their hands in it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson needs to take a vacation for like a year. He needs to get out of movies for like a year. He's wearing people out. Really, he really is. He's got Jumanji coming up. He's got the Rampage movie that I talked about. There's probably 2 other movies coming up that I can't think of that he's in. You got to slow down, buddy. And Monster Hunter. Everyone that likes big action RPGs, you need to look into this game. You even get a little cat guy that follows you around. I don't know what he does. He could be like some sort of loot transfer thing. I know some games did that, like the Torchlight series always had like a little follower that you could dump loot into, and they could run back to town and sell it for you and come back so you didn't have to mess with it. That's a cool idea. Maybe that's what the fucking cat does. I don't know. But you get to decorate him and all sorts of goofy shit. That game is going to have everything for everybody. If you like RPGs, if you like character building, you like smacking dinosaurs in the ankle with a sword until he finally bends over so you can jump on his head, it's going to be a great game. Other than that, I know we've only went... What time is it? Yeah, we haven't even made it an hour yet. But unless my producer over there has anything to talk about, I think this stream is over. You got anything over there?
Nope.
All right, everybody. This has been Wardog Live. Thanks for watching.